Oh, hello there, Miss Stephanie.
Hey, Joy, how are you?
I am great. It feels good to be back doing the Women's Champ show. And I'm just going to give people some time to come on in. And I see that we have a couple of people that have joined us. Hi, Narada. Thank you for saying hello to us. Good evening to you. And Narada, if you can, Stephanie, I'm gonna have you say something because we just want to make sure that everyone can hear us okay. I know we may think
Oh,
we're
of
okay.
course, of
Yes.
course.
So Narada, if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
or whomever can just give us a thumbs up that you hear both of us just fine, we would so appreciate it. And we will continue to go from there. Like I said, Stephanie, just this is just our open conversation with everyone else, and you get an opportunity to share your story because, like I always say, I believe we all have one.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
yes, so it's just, I want to tell everyone that as you all come in, thank you for being so supportive to thank you. You can hear us perfectly. Thank you for being so supportive with the Women's Champ show. I don't take it lightly that I have an opportunity to sit down and talk to so many amazing women. And I feel so blessed that I feel like I just know amazing people. And, you know, I try to be sensitive to the people that I should have come on. And so I'm grateful that as the season has returned, that we have Miss Stephanie Hines joining us. And I know some people are probably looking at the title of the
Hmm.
flyer and it's like the lady behind the scenes. It's like, okay, exactly, you know, who is this lady behind the scenes? And so I want to give people an opportunity to come in and we can just, we could talk about that a bit more. But how are you on this lovely Thursday, Stephanie?
I am okay. I'm glad to be back home. I've been off for say about 10 weeks, so it feels good to be back at home. The weather's nice, so just thankful.
And home
Yes,
in
ma'am.
and down in the south.
Yes, ma'am. Down in Dallas, it's hot. I can say that. But Milwaukee has some good weather. It was starting to get cold, so I'm grateful to be back right on time.
I bet you are. How was let's talk about that transition. How long have you been there now in the
Going on a
Southwest?
year. It'll be a year in December. Yeah, it'll be a year in
Wow.
December. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
That's
different,
amazing.
but yeah, I'm grateful for it. I mean, it was hard taking the change, the step to, move away.
Hmm.
But everything's been beautiful. It's been peaceful. I can say I found peace being here. So I'm glad that I made the decision to listen to God when He told me to move. So I just followed.
And I commend you for that. Some people they may have it on the inside of them. They may not know where it's coming from. Like there's a thought of I should go here. And I think sometimes people sit in question for too long instead of just moving. And something that I always believe and I tell people I believe in time. 100% because no matter what, it doesn't stop. And so while you sitting there pining over whether or not you need to make a move with your life, time is going on by and we could sometimes miss these critical windows of just these opportunities to meet people. So for you to be going on a year, congratulations to you
Thank you.
for for doing that. So I titled this show The Lady Behind the Scenes because over the summer and even now currently you've been given this wonderful amazing opportunity to work on the show Top Chef. And
Yes.
although I am on the East Coast now, I still try to, for the most part, stay um, up to date with kind of like what's going on at home, home being Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I saw that they were in Milwaukee as well as Madison. And something I always tell my husband, I said, you know, Milwaukee really does have some good food. You have to know where to go,
You just got to
and
know where to go.
got to know where to go. And my husband and I, like he said, he loves the show. We are like, we both love watching the Food Network. So when I reached out to you over the summer, uh, and just seeing like how things were going with you, you mentioned that that's what you were doing. So please, if you don't mind, give us a bit of your background as to how you even got involved. Because we can even go back to even like with the church, with your involvement with the audio and visual. What was your role on Top Chef? But how did you gradually like go into that particular field? And if I'm missing a technical,
Well,
Stephanie, just let me know.
oh no, you're good. So I started off in the field as a production assistant. Before then, it was like, I guess a lot of nerves with me wanting to branch off in it. I knew this was something that I wanted to do, but I just didn't like, I don't give myself an opportunity to really get out there to network onto how to get into the field. So Lady C, actually, Camille, she pushed me into it when she started the Real Talk with Camille Monk. She
Mm-hmm.
had me working with her producer, which was his name is Wanye Sloan. So I
Okay.
was working with him behind the scenes, and just talking to him a little bit, and from communications with him, he pushed me out to to get out there a little bit. And I ended up working with this company in Milwaukee called Red Star Films, which
Okay.
placed me on my first commercial as a production assistant working with Giannis from the Milwaukee Bucks. It was a
Uh-huh.
Oreo commercial. So from then on, I just got from certain people that I worked with, they always, I guess they like my work ethic. So anytime a show or, any stagehand help was needed, they gave my number. And that's how I got put on the show for Top Shelf. Ironically, I think either 2 to 3 people had called. They called them, asked them to come, work on the show. If they knew anybody that would be a good fit, they gave my name. Two of the people that gave my name ended up not working on the show, which was crazy. So I'm just thankful. You never know who you're around, who you're working with. So it's always good just to, I guess to be your best, not to, be so aggressive, which I sometimes had an issue with because, a
Okay.
lot of people wasn't receiving and open to me because of that. But
Okay.
like I said, with me moving to Texas, God like really humbled me. So I can see the change, and working where I am now, I'm just like, man, God really prepared me. For this because I never imagined this door being open. So I'm thankful.
Mhm. That is amazing. Like, did you go to school for that at all? Or is this like, did you go into this field
Yeah.
really just like learning from the ground up?
So I went to school for videography, but
Mhm.
I ended up doing the production assistant work just by word of mouth, just from certain people in the fields that I know already. They had me come in. Now, as a production assistant, I'm not always like running the camera or anything like that. It's a lot of behind the field. For Top Chef, it was more building the stage. So the stage that you see them performing on, we build. It was a lot of work behind the scenes for them 10 weeks. But it's mainly just helping out in different areas that's needed. One day I can come in and work and I can do lighting. While we were in Madison, I got to run the whole the show at Whole Foods when we did a shop for the chefs. They went out and did their grocery shopping. So I went inside Whole Foods by myself, was able to talk to the managers, get all the releases set up, and everybody together for when the camera crew and the chefs came. So I was basically the only PA in my position that actually had that opportunity. I got a chance to serve the judges on the show, some of the food. I got a chance to pick up celebrity guest judges from the airport and drive them around and drop them off. Got the chance to drive around the chefs. So yeah, they had me all over, to be honest. So it was fun.
We're going to talk more about that. I can see because I'm on my phone, the lady that said, "Hey, beautiful ladies," that's Auntie Lori. So thank you for joining in, Auntie Lori, to listen to
Yes,
listen to Stephanie. And for anyone else, we can't always see unless you make a comment who's watching. But for the people that have joined, I just want to take a moment to tell you thank you for joining us tonight. I believe Stephanie has so much more to share with us, and I just want to pause for a moment. If you are enjoying it so far, please share this with someone that you may know. They don't have to be on social media. We are showing this live as of now, even on Relationship Entertainment Television on YouTube. So please, if you can, share the stream with someone else, because we never know. One of the reasons why I wanted you to talk, Stephanie, is because we really never know who's trying to go into the field that you're in, or even the journey
yes,
of
ma'am.
just starting somewhere. And like when you were speaking, what I kept thinking about, Stephanie, was that to be in a position like that, you have to be a pretty humble person to say that you
Yes,
served the
ma'am.
judges, to say that you drove people around, and you said that oftentimes your approach would be a bit more aggressive. And I get it, because I get it. It could be aggressive, and you had to learn how to like pull back some. And that speaks volumes to who you are and your growth.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's talk about, because we're going to go back to the Top Chef in a moment, but let's talk about some of like Stephanie at 15 versus Stephanie now. Because
Ooh.
I believe are you in my 40 club now? You made 40.
Yes, ma'am, I am
Yeah.
41 actually this
41.
year.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Still looking young.
Jesus, me at 15, I was a hot mess. Like literally, I was hard headed. Um, I didn't care. I had a I didn't care attitude.
Mhm.
We, I was rough. More of a tomboyish growing up, so I wasn't like super girly. Got into fights a lot, hung out with gangs, sold drugs. Like I was a hot mess at 15. And like had the opportunity, I could have graduated high school at 16, but I ended up dropping out. um, like it was just so much that I regret, at that age of 15. But I'm also thankful for it because all the experiences that I had, it helped me to be who I am. I experienced a lot of different jobs in different fields to where um, I feel like there's still some learning that I can do in certain areas, but it's a lot of areas where I'm like, man, I have that experience, which is crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just wow, man, it's weird, but I'm thankful, for the journey. I used to like I don't know. I used to try to hide and run away from it, but with me moving to Texas, God set me down and helped me to learn how to appreciate everything that I've been through.
Mhm.
So like again, I'm grateful just for the growing experience. I'm very thankful for the growth, to be able to see the growth,
Mhm.
and just to say, man, I'm an overcomer. So I'm grateful.
Yes, you are, because there are things that happen to you prior to that. I think sometimes, some people, they want to be able to hear from someone that has a story similar to them. Because oftentimes I believe that we go through life, and for some reason we think we're the only ones that are having whatever experience that it is, because the people that are around us may not be having that particular experience. But there is something that you have gone through that can help someone else out. That's why I said I didn't know what I was going to ask you. Who were you at 15? And for you to say you were a hot mess, that ought to give some parents that might be listening to this, whose child, or they may know a family member who's in their teens and they're having a rough time, to let them know it is, we still have choices, but it does not have to remain that way. And you are
It really
a
doesn't.
testament to that.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, well, you got to figure before I moved to Texas, I was actually homeless during the pandemic for about 2.5 years. I volunteered at the Warming Center in Ephesians. And during that, it was like crazy because didn't nobody know my situation. I had came to church and pastor was talking about, opening up the warming center and looking for volunteers. So my spirit was just like, man, just go. So I went, I enjoyed volunteering, and the volunteer turned into me actually getting hired. Instead of me volunteering, I became working at the warming center. So from there, it opened up for me to work with the church in the summertime with Employ Milwaukee. I got a chance to work with Lori Bentley and Phyllis Todd, which was like, man, the best like ever because just them 6 months with me working with them ladies, man, it helped me during the time that I really didn't know, what I needed at that moment, but they knew. You got to figure with the constant prayers every day, just checking on me. And in the midst of me going through that, it's like, man, God was a provider. I didn't really have to worry about anything because it went from me sleeping in a car to me being able to stay in the hotel the whole time that, I was homeless, which was still amazing. But it taught me to really trust and to lean on God more because during that time, he showed me that, he is a provider. When I need him most, he's there. And at that moment, I just, man, I couldn't do nothing but be grateful and thankful, because he was showing me him more during that time than I've ever noticed and experienced him before in my life, And I can say that I know he's always been a protector because of the things that I went through in my youth and my childhood. Like,
Mhm.
man, it had nothing, it had to be God's, running away from home, sleeping with men just because I needed somewhere to lay my head. Like God protected me from that, So I can say, yeah, I'm like, man, I'm just grateful.
Mm.
Um, Coming from that, then being able to, get me a house before I moved here. I had my house for about a year. And then when that year, God was like, what, it's time for you to move. I don't need you in Milwaukee no more. You got to go. And I'm like, man, I love my house. It's comfortable. I'm here. I finally made it. I don't want to go. But he like, no, it's for you to go. And it got to the point where my house ended up getting sold in Milwaukee, so I had no other choice but to move. So I ended
Mm.
up coming out here to Dallas, and it was rough. But in the midst of that roughness, man, I got so closer to God that it's like, man, I never experienced peace. This is the most peaceful I can say I've been in my entire life. Like I'm happy, I'm smiling. I don't, worry about being around people or being out. I can just be at home and just be happy with just sitting at home and it just be me, my son, watching church on Wednesday, Sunday, sometimes every day. If I'm just sitting here, it's like, why not catch up on the sermon or something, So
Mhm.
just to continue to keep myself fed and I'm just thankful. Like I'm amazed of where God has me at right now.
You said so much, Stephanie, and I want to say hello to Michelle. She said good evening to us, and you have support. That was Auntie Lori again. That said we love you, girl. And
I love you
again,
too.
Stephanie is sharing so much, and I just want to still pause and tell everybody share this with someone, even if it's just one person. Share this live because I believe, Stephanie, like I told you before we went live, this is about you. This is about your story. This is about your journey. And like you said, something that you said, like for you to be homeless for 2.5 years, like there has been so much turnaround for you within the last few years. And then the moment you get comfortable, that's where I want people to pay attention to. So many people, they say they want change, but they are entirely too comfortable with where they are. And you had to leave your comfort in order to be
Mhm.
placed in the position that you are today. And that
Yes,
takes
ma'am.
that takes sacrifice. And for you to, I had an opportunity. I went home for a bit and I had an opportunity to work with you in the warming center as well. And at that time, I was going through a transition myself, but I remember your heart for the people. And oftentimes people that and they wouldn't have known unless you share with them what position you were in at the time, but you still served with joy. And sometimes people that are helping others tend to have this attitude of, "Well, just take whatever we give you." The whole beggars can't be choosy. But we still need to treat people with dignity, because we
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
know where we could be. Today, you could be in a house tomorrow. Really, we don't know what can happen. Natural disasters, anything. Your house could be wiped out if you're not prepared for that. We never know. And so we have to be mindful of, we all need someone. We
Yes,
all
ma'am.
need someone. And I know you gave a lot of, reference to God, but who else in your life was instrumental into the woman that you are now? I know we all have those moments, like it could be a teacher, or it was someone at church, or sometimes God, I can say for myself, God has used total strangers to pour into me. And I can't tell you these people names, but they just said something and it just clicked for me, like I need to make a change, or I need to stay on task with whatever it is that I'm doing.
Well, a lot of it I can say has been church people. During the time where I needed most, there was Camille, Lady C, man. I'm so grateful for her because man, it's like she actually encouraged and pushed me to really step out in my purpose, So dealing with her mentorship, the 30-day devotionals was everything for
Mm-hmm.
me. It helped to educate me a little bit more in my adulthood because a lot of my upbringing, in church, I was a teenager, I was rebellious, so I listened, but I listened to enough to just retain, but not to utilize. So
Mm,
instead of me, putting everything to work, it was still there in the back of my mind. So when I really needed it the most, that's what I had to go to. And for that, I'm so thankful for your grandfather because a lot of my teaching has came from him. He nicknamed me Sorry for a reason, and I get it. Like I understand. Every time he see me, like, "Ooh, hey, sorry," and I'm just like, "Oh, like what you mean?" But I get it because, man, like it was pitiful to see how hard headed I was at that time. But I'm just grateful that he never gave up. He still was there. And
mhm,
during his service, Sister Smith, Marion Smith, came to me when I was, doing the body, and she said, "Man, it's hard not to cry, and I'm not telling you not to grieve, but the best way to honor him is to live out everything that he taught you." And
mm,
that stuck with me, the most. Then after going through what I went through, for some reason God brought me back home, like I said. And at the time that I needed the most, it was the warming center. Then doors just kept opening, and I remained as faithful as I can. I
mhm,
remember we had like a crazy snowstorm, and
mhm,
man, I had to shovel myself out. Like Pastor and Lady C called, like, "Man, we'll come get you." I said, "No, I'm gonna shovel myself out. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna go."
mhm,
And this was during the pandemic, and it was
mhm,
crazy. It was just that service. It was me, Pastor Monk, Lady C, Winston, and Jennifer. And me and Jen ran everything in the back. The service went on the way it was supposed to, and I'm like, man, like faithfulness, like, man, God, like
mhm,
I could have gave
mhm.
up. I could have told them, no,
Yes.
I'm not coming. It's too cold. But
Mhm,
man, God said, get up, you got it. And he gave me that
mhm,
energy and that strength to shovel myself out and to make it. And I made my way through it. Man, it was bad that day, but I'm grateful for it. I can just say, it's your faithfulness, and it's not really like to nobody else. It's more between you and God. I was faithful to serving, true enough, but like, man, who am I serving? Am I coming here to
mhm,
serve people, or am I really just coming here to do the work of God? And that's really what it was. Like, man, I had to do God's work because
mhm.
in my position, that was the only way people was able to see church.
Isn't
So it's
that
like, man,
something?
if we don't come, they're not going to see it. So I'm just
Yes.
grateful that God put me in that position at that time.
And that you
Honestly,
stop
I
being
am.
sorry. You stop being
And I
sorry.
stopped being
Because
sorry.
I know for a fact when I left Milwaukee, I think you had just come back to the church.
Yes, ma'am.
This was around 2015. But what I love, Stephanie, is that every time I would come back and visit, you were there. So that it showed a different level of consistency for you. And I told you, it's like, it's just good to see your face. It would just be good to see
Yes,
your
ma'am.
face. And although I know you'd be running back and forth, getting things done, a lot of times people see those that are on, on camera, not understanding that it really does take a team to make that happen. And you got to be able to work well with others.
Yes, ma'am.
That's
And
something.
I
And
mean,
also too, and I'm telling you, and I know it can be challenging because we could be challenging people. I don't
yes,
think some of us
ma'am.
like to accept the fact that we can be challenging, and it could be a challenge for others to work with us, but hey, that's okay. We have room to grow. But what I wanted to say was, even when you mentioned how you all were at the church, and so that people would get an opportunity to still have that connection, because this was during a time where a lot of people were isolated. And your determination, when you said you were going to shovel yourself out, you had a level of commitment that was there that you just didn't have before, and that was
Yes,
part of
ma'am.
you maturing. And I think about when scripture says despise not small beginnings, what you were doing at that church led you, and your faithfulness there led you to be in a position to be able to work on one of the most top rated shows on the Food Network. If you all are just now
Yes,
joining in
ma'am.
with us, Stephanie is going to talk more about her journey into, she gave a little bit of information about it at the beginning, but to have the opportunity to work on Top Chef. And if you watch the Food Network, you've heard of the show. It's a competition. And I know that there's some things that you can't disclose because they haven't aired it yet,
Mhm.
but it was more so of your journey into that field and just your experience of it. And for you to have the opportunity to go back home,
Yes.
to go back to where you grew up, and to be able to work. It took you to leave for that door to open. And I need some people to hear that. Sometimes it's not meant, everybody's not going to move away. But for some people, it's really in them to do something different with their life, but they're too afraid, too concerned about what others think, whether they want to admit that to themselves or not. And we have talked ourselves out of doing things in life, having these experiences. And each decision that we make gets us closer to where we should be when we make the right decision, right? So
Listen.
when we make because you had to, I'm going back to when you mentioned you were already homeless. Now that you are comfortable, the house gets sold, and God's like, it's time for you to go, Stephanie. Only for you to leave, but then to go back to
Ooh,
Milwaukee. What was your perspective when you went back home? Only this time you're working on one of the most top rated shows in America.
I was nervous. And it wasn't the nerves because of the show. It was the nerves of me going back to a place of hurt. Like, man, I left behind so much pain when I moved to from Milwaukee to Dallas that it's unreal. And I never expected to go back to work at all. But for them 10 weeks that I was there, it was challenging. It was a lot of challenges that I faced and had to go through. But I'm thankful and I'm grateful that I was able to go and to take the position because it helped me and my mom relationship to grow a little closer
Okay.
because we wasn't as close, when I moved away. So I'm grateful for that. I got a chance to spend time with my grandparents who are ill. Man, I got a chance to work in at church the whole time I was there. So it's not like, I wasn't still, being faithful, to what I love doing. So I'll go to work, Monday through Saturday, and then on Sundays I'm at church and I'm working, and then I'm back in the production field again. So, man, I'm just grateful that God allowed me to go back home with a different mindset, a different heart.
Mm-hmm.
I can say I was more open to receiving others, rather, they receive me or not, So I'm just grateful for that. He showed me going back home how much I did grow being here in these couple of months that I moved away. So I'm just grateful, man, because man, I can see the change in myself. Can't nobody else see it. I know I see it. I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy, man. I'm just at peace.
As you should. And it's so wonderful to hear. And some people get to that point faster than others. But my prayer is that everyone experiences that. There is nothing like
Yes,
peace. And
ma'am.
again, for those of you that have tuned in, I know everyone has not made a statement or said hello. So we don't know exactly who's watching, but I just want to tell you thank you for watching. If you have not done so already, please like and share this content, because again, there may be some young people, and I don't want to just say young people, because I never want people in our age group to think that we can't pursue our dreams. I'm not that person. I I feel like if you're breathing, if it's reasonable, by all means, please go for it. So I really thank those of you for tuning in. That's Curtis. Thank you for joining, Curtis. Um, he said he's enjoying this chat. So, Stephanie, I know you were
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm shy. I don't really want to talk because you're used to being behind the
Oh,
scenes.
yeah.
But like I told you, this is this is about you, and you are a
Mm.
living, breathing testimony for others. And there's so
Yes,
much
ma'am.
more that you have gone through in your life that people
Ooh,
have no idea about. And sometimes we misread one another. We look at the smiles. We sometimes we don't really see people. It's like people we can take
mm-hmm.
for granted the people that we lay eyes on, but we don't really see people. And you said something earlier that stuck with me. I think about the word of God when it says, train up a child in the way it should go. And when they grow old, it will not
Oh,
depart from
they
them.
should not
The it
depart.
is
Yes,
with
ma'am.
those teachings. It's the teachings. And so you said you retain the information, but you did not utilize it. That is a very powerful statement, Stephanie,
Yes,
because there are
ma'am.
many of us right now, we are filled to the brim with information. However, we aren't utilizing the information that we have.
And that's a major part, man. You have to, like you said, got to put the work in. Faith without works is dead. So for
Mhm.
me, like, and I had the faith, but I lacked the work. I didn't want to put in the work. So it wasn't until, man, I had them people like Camille Monk holding me accountable to do
Mhm.
the work. So
Mhm.
once I started to do the work, man, God just started showing me, and what I'm capable of, and my strength, and I got a chance to face my weaknesses and my fears. My worst fear was finding my sister dead because she was suicidal, and I always thought like, okay, it's gonna happen, but I never wanted to experience it. And about 2 years ago, man, God had me face that fear. I walked in the house, and even though she didn't take her own life, she died, from complications with diabetes. But to find my only sibling, dead was like, man, was hard. It was heartbreaking. But after that moment, it's like, man, there's nothing that I can't do. It's nothing that I can't face, because that was always my fear. I didn't have fear of nothing else but that. So once I was able to face it, and I put myself through counseling, I was able to come out of that. And because I felt the depression, but I knew I didn't want to
Mhm.
be in a state of depression. So I
Mhm.
got the help that I needed. And man, like I said, like just from there on, I just had to do the work because
Wow.
I
And for
knew
you
it
to
was the
say that you
reason,
found your sister who was younger, Alicia was younger than you.
Yeah, 6
And
years. Yeah.
mm, that's a lot.
So yeah.
And
And yeah,
again,
it was.
That's a lot because the thing is it's just it's the things that you've even experienced leading up to that. And
Yeah, I
oftentimes,
mean,
like I said,
yeah, it's a lot of the homelessness, like man, my stepfather dying,
mhm,
happened to, leave my son behind during the little couple years that I was homeless. So yeah, it was a lot leading up to that. It then happened to, deal with her, which, it's like, wow, but man, the way God gave me the strength to handle that, you would never knew, that it was a fear of mine. You never knew that I was struggling with it. Man, I can say, dreams about her for at least a year.
mhm,
Just reliving, that day was hard, but he gave me the strength to keep going. So I'm just
mhm,
grateful that God put me in the position that I was in when I was homeless, because that was actually it prepared me to go through everything that I had to go through during that time. So I'm grateful
mm,
for it.
mm, mm. For
Like, so
you keep
grateful.
saying you're grateful, and I love to hear that because some people aren't at that space yet where they can say I'm grateful for what I've gone through. And I love also that you stress the fact that faith without works is dead. That's something we got to always remember. We can talk all day long and have all the ideas in the world, on paper, on a vision board, or in notes in your phone, notes on your mirror. But until we put that work in, it's just talk, you
Yes,
know?
it's in
And
void.
like you said, there were
I'm
people that poured into you,
whew,
but essentially, the people that poured into you, they saw something in Stephanie. Whether Stephanie was keen
yes,
on
ma'am.
that about herself or not, they saw it in you, but there was still something that you had to do to get it done. And man, when I say like we could have titled this show The Overcomer, you've overcome a lot, Stephanie. You really
Yeah,
have.
I have, and like I said, I'm grateful for it though. I really appreciate everything that I have been through, because man, I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't, for them things. Even like with my kids, it's like, how I feel like I didn't break the generational curses like I should have, but I've been able to see my son break it. My oldest son graduated high school at 16 and a junior. He's 18 now. He's on his second year in college. He's working in his field. Like man, so I'm grateful for that. Just to see, my boys live out, their journey, their path, and to see them break them generational curses that I couldn't. So I'm just grateful that God gave me that overall. That's my most blessing right there, is seeing my kids break them generational curses.
That's awesome. And the thing is that I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
oftentimes there are some experiences that we hope to have, and I can identify with that. Um, but we're able to see it in someone else. So the fact that you said earlier you had an opportunity to graduate at 16, but you were just on some nonsense at that time in your life,
Yes, ma'am.
but to see your son be able to do that, what a testimony. And
Yes, ma'am.
for us to come from a city where there is a relatively large amount of violence in comparison, especially with the Black population, to hear that that young man was able to do that and to be in his second year of college is truly commendable. And
Yes,
thank
ma'am.
God for you, for the rest of the people that have poured into your son's life. And I just hope and pray that he continues to stay on that path. But we have to learn to have a spirit of thanks no matter what we
Yes,
go
ma'am.
through. And for those of you that are watching, I like to uh stop, midpoint. I forgot to let everybody know you all are welcome to join in the conversation. We like when people ask questions. If there's a question that you have for Stephanie, for those of you that just may have tuned in, she had an opportunity to work on Top Chef. And you were telling me before we got on that, are you able to talk about the opportunity that's going to come in November for you with working behind
Well,
the scenes? Not like in depth, but the fact that the door that just
yeah,
opened when you mentioned where you're able to go, I'm like, a lot of
yeah,
people
and
will love.
that's crazy. And it's crazy because when we first started, they stated that they wasn't taking production assistants with them. It wasn't going to happen. And about 3 weeks before the show ended, they sent out this email like, "Hey, you got your passport? You want to come to the finale?" I'm like, "Yeah, right. Y'all playing? I got it, but yeah, okay, you're playing with me." And the last day, like three of the top heads came to me like, "Yeah, so we'll be calling you next week. I hope you're ready to go, but we'll be leaving in November." They sent me my go dates from the 5th to the 22nd. So we're going overseas, the Caribbean. So yeah, just a different experience. I'm grateful for that. And jobs been opening. Like I have one here on the 9th with ABC for 2 days. I have one on the 15th with ESPN. So I'm just grateful, man. I've met some awesome people, got a chance to work with some awesome people, and I got a chance to see a lot of a lot of racism, I can say, but not too much. It's like crazy. It was, I think I'm pushing it when I say 13 of color folks and the 200, production from the top heads all the way to the bottom. It was only about 13 people that was African American out of 200. So it was very challenging. I was one or two African American females in my position. Like, yeah, so it was different. You met people from all over, from LA, from St. Louis. It was a lot of people that worked in Milwaukee that wasn't from Milwaukee. So
Mm,
different attitudes, personalities.
mm,
And the thing that kind of stuck with me the most is crazy is because everybody knew I went to church because I never like not talked about church. They
come on.
donated a whole bunch of stuff to my church when the show was over. They wanted to make sure, like, they donated it to the church. They also, what can I say, man? They gave me Sundays off. They made sure I didn't work no Sundays at all while I was in Milwaukee so that I can work at the church. So when
Wow.
I say, yeah, like, God made sure he had everything in line for me, which is, man, unbelievable. I keep saying I'm just grateful because I
Yeah.
knew, man, it's God when things are happening. Like, man, it's just unbelievable. I'm still in shock. Like, man, I was just working on Bravo TV. Like, wow.
Mm,
Like they
mm, mm.
21st season, man, and it's not too many shows out here like that right now, especially because with the writers and the actor strike that's going on. um,
Yes.
Grateful for the non-union shows because Top Chef is a non-union show, so that's why I was able to work
Mm,
on that. I got people pushing me to go union now. So with this, it's like, man, I have no idea what doors God really have ahead for me from this just this one opportunity. And I've worked with NBA players and everything, but it's just completely different from Top Chef. Like man, they open a lot of doors. I can tell you that.
mhm. That is so amazing for you to say that they weren't originally going to take anyone from the production assistant side, and then for three of the top heads to come to you specifically. That is truly the favor of God.
Yes, ma'am.
Stephanie, you apparently, you know, I know this to be true. Some people go, "Well, I'm doing the right thing. I'm it's like they're like this. I'm doing everything right, and things just aren't falling together." And sometimes we just have to let go. And sometimes it won't always be so peachy, but that does not mean that you are not on the right path. Where you are,
Yes, ma'am.
just if you blink and you close your eyes and you think back 6 years to where you are
Ooh-wee.
today. We do have a question for you. So Narada wants to know, have you ever seen a celebrity and was starstruck?
Yes. Oh my God. So I watch All American. Have you watched All American? the
What
TV
is
show All American that came on CW.
that?
It's about this football player in college and everything. Well,
Mm-mm.
two of the main actors from this show were
Mm-hmm.
celebrity guests, and one of them in Madison, his name is Preach. I'm gonna think of his real name, but his character
Okay.
name is Preach on the show. But he brought us breakfast, like literally came up to our car as we was leaving. We had to be on set. We left at 4:30 in the morning because it was an hour ride, so we had to be there at 5:30. And
Mm-hmm.
we getting into the cars at the hotel, and he come knocking on the window, open the door, like, y'all want some breakfast? And I'm just looking, my mouth open. I couldn't say anything, but just like, wow. And,
Uh-huh.
everybody looking at me like, well, who is that? Why you looking like that? So then
Uh-huh.
I got to Googling and showing them pictures of them, and they was like, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, man, I got to pick up some celebrity judges from the airport. I did a lot of, they trusted me a lot with a lot of driving, which is crazy as ever. But I did a lot
Mm-hmm.
of driving, a lot of transporting people. So yeah, I had fun, man. It was a blast meeting different individuals.
Mm-hmm.
It's people that I've worked with in different departments that's been turning down jobs, giving them to me already since I've been home. Like, well, I'm in Houston, you in Dallas. I just got this opportunity. So I turned it down, but I gave them your name. So here, they'll be calling you. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And these people, I didn't even think they liked me. But when the show was over, like, man, they like really was, yeah, here, I got you. I got your back. We finna do this. I'm
Yes.
gonna get you in the union. And, just showing me how to, better, prepare myself, fixing my resume more. I got my name and credits on TV. Like, that is crazy. So
That's
like,
amazing.
man, I'm still just like at wow, it's just
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed at everything that just happened. Like people thinking that I moved back home. I'm like, no, I didn't move back. I'm just visiting, but you've been here too long. You had to. I'm like, oh
Oh, let
my
me stop you
God.
there. And see, and that we have to be delivered from the thoughts of others as well.
Yes,
Let it go, because sometimes people can just say some really just off make off comments, and they really don't know what they're talking about. But the fact that you stay steady, no matter how it looked to others, and for you to say that these people weren't, they knew that they couldn't do the job, but there was something in you where they trusted you enough to give your name. That speaks
yes,
volume to
ma'am.
you and to the character of those people. Because we know it's some folks where it's just like, well, if I can't do it, nobody else can. You have another question. And again, if you all have a question or a comment, please feel free. We're not that way. We like for the audience to join in. You may have a question, not necessarily about her being behind the scenes or Top Chef. And like you just mentioned, you did you say you have an opportunity with ABC and ESPN, or you already had those
Yes,
opportunities?
yep, no, they just came since I've been here. Like I said, the lady turned down one of the jobs, and I was with ABC. It was a 2-day event, so that starts on the 9th. And then
Okay.
somebody else referred me for ESPN, which is on the 15th.
That's awesome. So you have another
Yes, ma'am.
question. Did you get a chance to try any of the food from the competition?
I did. Some of the food I did try. We snuck and tried them, but yes, it was pretty good. A lot of the food I can say they can cook amazing. A lot wasn't really all that great, but you got to figure they only get a 2-hour window. So with
Mhm.
that 2-hour window to come up with a meal like this is unbelievable. You get 20 minutes to shop in a grocery store. So yeah, they did amazing jobs, man. This one of the chefs from Milwaukee was actually on the show, which I'm great to
Oh,
say. Yeah, we had a native on the show, which was amazing. You
okay.
had people from all over, so they had a nice cast. The host this year, she was I think she was the Top Chef winner of season 15, I believe. So now she's the
Mhm.
new host of the show, which was amazing. The host and the judges were awesome. They bought us food at the end of the season just to say thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
You got a chance to meet people and their kids, a lot of dogs running around, so it was an amazing experience. I was just grateful, turning the factory into a whole set was just awesome to me. We
Hmm.
I'm gonna give this one out. So we rented Discovery World. We did a set at
Okay.
Discovery World, and we built two restaurants inside of Discovery World.
Wow.
So it's like just when you see it, it's so amazing. But the fact that we were able to build two restaurants in there was awesome to
Hmm.
me.
Like to be like I was telling my husband not too long ago, because I don't know, I'm just somebody that's always like to read the credits, as corny as that sounds, at the
Hmm.
end of like movies and all of that. And I like there are so many names. I was like, there are so many people that do so much to make the movie happen, to make the TV show come to life, to make the church broadcast, come to life. And for you to start out volunteering, and this is something that, I think about when even scripturally, when it says, your gifts will make room for you, you remain committed to a ministry, not getting paid money. And people don't
Yes,
understand that a
ma'am.
lot of what is able to come forth, especially those that are watching services online, those people are not getting paid. The most majority of them really are not. So this comes from, and people don't know, like when you work, and especially like coming from the church that you came from, believe in starting on time, you have to be there much earlier than everyone
Yes,
else
ma'am.
to make sure everything is set up. And you don't always get a chance to really be completely tuned in because you're trying to make sure that everything is working out right. But for you to go from that to be able to be on some great shows, to work with, to say ABC, ESPN, and to be able to do that, like I want young people and others to know everybody don't have to be on the front. There are people that
Hmm.
are behind the scenes and still get just as much joy making that show come to life. And like you said, to be able to have your name, Stephanie Hines from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who was a troubled teen, who slept with men
Yes.
so that she could have money and have somewhere to lay, who sold drugs. Statistically, I love statistics at times, but
Yes, ma'am.
statistically, you should not be in the position that you are in now. And here you are, alive and well, where you're supposed to be in life. And everything that you've gone through, Steph, has brought you to this place.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
a phenomenal woman you are. And to be able to
Thank you.
serve, Stephanie, I heard a lot of what you said during this time. And can you believe it? We're almost at an hour just
Yes,
that
ma'am.
fast. For you to have gone through all of that and to be where you are today and to still have gratitude, that says a lot about you. And you've suffered a lot of
Hmm.
loss
A lot.
lately.
I
I know your
did.
stepfather, that was my buddy, as well as your sister. And the challenges of motherhood, of just being a
Hmm.
minority on that set, and the favor of God has skipped over to you. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
You should be
And it's
proud of
crazy.
yourself.
And what just popped in my head is the first time I ever picked up a camera. Do you know your mom was the first person I took a picture of professionally?
What?
Yes. When I was at MATC, me and her both was going to MATC together. I was
Uh-huh.
on the newspaper at that time, so I was a reporter for the MATC Times, and I ended up doing photography for a little bit. And she was the first person when I got my camera. I seen her in the lunchroom. I said, "Man, let me get this picture." Kind of fought her a little bit, but I took the picture. You all got the picture, actually.
That's the picture you
Yes,
gifted us. And just so I didn't know
yes,
that. And it'd be
yes,
amazing to
ma'am.
me when I'm doing the show and I'm hearing news for the first time. I had no idea that that was your first picture. And I
That was
can
the
tell
first
you all
picture
this. I
ever.
know the year because it's the year that my mom passed, 2002. And I remember not long after her funeral, maybe a couple of weeks or so, was that you had gifted us with a photo of her and you already had it framed. And I want you to know, I still have my picture. It's
That's
like she was
awesome.
holding some money in her hand and she had on this
Yes,
gold
ma'am.
dress with like flowers. So, wow, for you to say that the first picture you took was my mom, wow. and to where
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are today. Stephanie, Stephanie, Stephanie. What a story. What a story. And so many people look down on 2-year colleges because it's not some big name and all of that, but you went to Milwaukee area technical college and the first professional picture you
Mm,
took was my mom. Wow. And I still
yes, ma'am.
have that photo. So I want to tell you thank you because you never know how, and when we think of pictures, you think of memories. You never know how you're going to help someone. And that meant a
Yes,
lot to
ma'am.
me to have that photo of my mom. So I want to tell you thank you. Um, Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Curtis, you're right. Full circle moment. Full circle moment. So I know we are getting ready to wind down. You gave us so much information. Now, let me ask you this real quick. When will that show air that you worked on? Do you know around what time they're going to
Um,
be airing it?
yeah, it'll be airing in March.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can look out for that in March. Okay. So as we get ready to close, Stephanie, what are some lasting words that you want to say? Like, what is it that you know now that has helped you stay on your path? What is it that you know now? And it could be based off something that you said earlier. What is it that you are utilizing that you had retained a long time ago, but you weren't utilizing? What are you utilizing now? What is it that you know now that
Oh,
helps get you through your day?
um, you have to deal with people accordingly to the mind that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, it was more so learning how to not live within my own thoughts and just realizing that people, are just, our spirits walking around, man, and every spirit is different, and you have to learn how to either accept the spirit that's coming from you and trust that God has you grounded enough to deal with it, or
Mm-hmm.
just be smart enough to walk away because you know you're not strong enough to fight whatever it is that you're coming up against.
Using wisdom.
Yes, ma'am.
Using wisdom. Stephanie, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. What a way for me. Like, you don't know, you energize me for my show. This is a new season, and I want to thank those of you that have joined tonight, that have made comments, that has shared the stream. And Stephanie, keep telling your story. If people want to connect with Stephanie, I've been having her Instagram running at the bottom. Like, Stephanie, we never know where this is going to take you. We really don't. And part of the reason why I do this is so that people can be inspired. That's one, the owner of RETV is to educate people, is to inspire them. And we're going to laugh. There are moments on the show
Yes,
where there's going to
ma'am.
be laughter, there will be tears. That's life. And so I want to tell everyone thank you again. If you haven't done so, it's not too late. You can still share it. Somebody may be able to watch this at a later time, but thank you so much, Stephanie. I am so grateful that you shared your story, although you were hesitant, but you shared it
Yeah.
anyway, and you
Yeah,
shared
thank
it,
you.
so well. And like Michelle said, this has been inspirational, you
Well,
know.
thank you.
And energizing. Okay. So for those of you that tuned in, please come back and join the Women's Champ Show next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll have another lovely lady on to tell her story. Until then, be safe and be great. Good night.
All right. Thanks, Toy.
My girl, thank you.